So, I've been seeing this around the internet lately. People keep using this quote from Martin Luther King out of context and using it as an example to riot, for reason to riot, which no harm should come to anyone for the innocent blood spilled of another. You don't harm the innocents for the blood of the innocents. So, what this quote says is, it must say tonight that a riot is the language of an unheard, and what is it that America has failed to unhear? It has failed to hear the plight of the... Can't say that because of YouTube, so whenever we say that word, we'll just say black, because YouTube will just close us down. The black poor has worsened over the last 12 or 15 years. It has failed to hear that the promises of freedom and justice have not been met. And it has failed to hear the large segments of white society are more concerned about tranquility and the status quo than about justice and humanity. So, right here, I had it highlighted, but I thought, you guys might not be able to see it if you're colorblind. So, right here, right before it goes to here, this is where it starts, is down here. But this is what he says before. I'll read that and I'll read the paragraph after. He says, "Let me say this as I've always said, and I'll always continue to say, that riots are socially destructive and self-deafening. I am still convinced that non-violence is the most potent weapon available to oppressed people in their struggle for freedom and justice. I feel that violence will only create more social problems than they will solve. In a real sense, it is impractical for the black to even think that mounting a violent revolution in the United States. So I will continue to condemn riots and continue to say to my brothers and sisters, this is not the way, and continue to affirm there is another way. But at the same time, it is as necessary for me to be as vigorous in condemning the conditions. Now, some people get condone and condemn a little mixed up. So I made sure to pull this up. Condemn. 1. To declare to be reprehensible, wrong, or evil, usually after weighing evidence and without reservation. To pronounce guilty, convict. To a judge unfit for use or consumption, to declare convertible or public use under the right of eminent domain. That's something else. But you can see right now he says he does not agree with this violence. That is what he says. So I'll repeat the sentence. But at the same time, it is necessary for me to be as vigorous in condemning the conditions which cause persons to feel that they must engage in rigorous activities, as it is for me to condemn riots. I think America must see riots do not develop out of thin air. Certain conditions continue to exist in our society which must be condemned as vigorously as we condemn riots. But in final analysis, a riot is a language of the unheard. And what is it that America has failed to hear? It has failed to hear the plight of the black poor has worsened over the last few years. It has failed to hear that the promises of freedom and justice have not been met. And it has failed to hear that the large segments of white society are more concerned about tranquility than the status quo than about justice, equality, and humanity. And so, in real sense, our nation's summers of riots are caused by our nation's winters of delay. And as long as America postpones justice, we stand in the position of having these reoccurrence of violence and riots over and over again. Social justice and progress are absolute guarantors of riot prevention. Sorry, my brain stuttered on that word. So, right there, he says he's basically understanding why they exist, why they happen, because he's a pastor. That is what they do. They have to understand why people act in ways and understand, and they can talk to them and be calm. So, that's probably what he's saying, because he understands people and he understands their rage, but he wants them to act in a peaceful manner instead of their anger. Now, let me go on to say, if we are to deal with all the problems that I have talked about, And if we are to bring America to the point we have one nation indivisible with liberty and justice for all, there are certain things we must do. The job ahead must be massive and positive. We must develop massive action programs all over the United States of America in order to deal with the problems that I have mentioned. Now, in order to develop these massive action programs, we got to get rid of one or two false notations that continue to exist in our society. One is the notion that only time can solve the problem of racial injustice. I'm sure you've heard this idea. It is a notion almost that there is something in a very flow of time that will miraculously cure all evils. And I've heard this over and over again. There are those, and they are often sincere people, who say blacks and their allies in the white community that we should slow up and be nice and patient to continue to pray. And in 102 years, the problem will work itself out because only time can solve the problem. There's a lot more to this article. There's a lot more before this. There is a part here where he talks about how Hitler dehumanized the Jews. Let's see, where was that? It was somewhere here. It probably looking past it several times, but he said things outside of the speech. But this is his speech right here. That is where the main quote came out of. This is worth a good read. We'll have in the links in the description. And remember, he's not a man of destruction. He is a man of peace and kindness. And also remember, for you out there who thinks riots and destruction are fine, no, they are not. Amendment number 1 of the Bill of Rights off of the National Archives. Congress shall make no law respecting establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people to peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for readdress of grievances. So, if you think violence is fine, it's not. It's already been against our Constitution. There is a time, place, and manner, which is something completely different. But, guys, you can't just twist the words of someone who had love. Or if you see this, please read more into it. If you see people keep throwing that, please throw this article their way. Maybe the video. I don't care about the video at all. But whatever you do, just make sure you know. He did not want destruction or riots. He understood why they happened, but he did not agree with them. So, thank you for your time. Thank you for watching this. You have a good one. You stay safe. And be sure to spread love to all your friends and families, and even those you don't know. Sign off.